Hi, my name's Chris Loos. Thank you so much for joining us for Conversations with the Candidates 2024. This was a show created by Mr. Ralph Walker with the intention of letting us, the community here in Monrovia, get to know who our candidates are. March 5th is going to be a big day. We need you to vote, but we want you to know who you're voting for. You're going to drive around town and see signs. You might hear names. If you're in a Facebook group, you see different things, but you don't get to know who these people are. So let me introduce to you current city council member who is running for council, Mr. Sergio Jimenez.
Hello, everybody.
Thank you for joining us. Appreciate it. Let me start by saying thank you for your service. You were appointed to council, and I've seen you out a lot in town. I see you a lot, which is really cool. And I think for anybody in the city to see their council members out, your job is one thing to do as you serve on council, but being at events and being out where people could see you is extra. So thank you.
No, thank you.
Appreciate that. So for the person who might have just moved to Monrovia, tell us about yourself, where you're born, raised, family.
All right. Well, I'm a third generation Monrovian. I grew up here, attended local area schools. My parents lived here in Monrovia. My grandparents lived here in Monrovia. I went to college at Azusa Pacific University. But even as a youth, before I went to college, I even interned in the Monrovia Fire Department. So Monrovia's pretty much been my world that I've come to know and love. I manage property as well. Besides my bachelor's and my master's in business, I also have a Juris Doctor law degree. I've been a volunteer. I came to really become a city council member as a natural extension of my volunteerism with multiple organizations, nonprofit boards right here in Monrovia.
Cool. Where did you start volunteering? Where did that begin?
I think the first board I sat on, or the first organization, was the Volunteer Center of San Gabriel Valley, based here in Monrovia. I heard about it, and I felt that there's a famous philosopher, a European philosopher, who described America as a nation of joiners. Alice de Tocqueville said that joiners, translated, would be volunteers.
Okay.
And I thought that that's what America's about. That's what Monrovia is about. Volunteers make Monrovia go. I got involved with them, and then as an extension of that, I got involved with the Make a Difference Day committee. Yeah. And I started getting involved in more things. Brad Oaks Neighborhood Watch. I live in the Brad Oaks section of Monrovia, on the east side of Monrovia. It's where I grew up. In fact, I attended Brad Oaks School. So from there, I got involved in more and more things, and the council just became a natural outgrowth of that volunteerism.
That's cool. Was there like a mentor for you, or anybody that kind of helped you, or that you just saw and was like, I really love what they do, maybe this is something for me?
I think it was a number of people. The people at the Volunteer Center of San Gabriel Valley, Penny, who was the executive director before, Arroyo, I looked up to her, and the current director as well, Macy Gracia.
Oh, yeah.
People that dedicate their lives really to public service. They do it unselfishly. They see it as a lifestyle. It is not a job. It's a passion for them. Yeah. And that sort of thing inspired me. Seeing city commissioners, I've always had a love for history. Having grown up in Monrovia, I started seeing some of those iconic buildings that represent Monrovia's history going by the wayside. So I applied for the Monrovia Historical Preservation Commission. I didn't get it the first time, and that's fine. Great people apply for that with wonderful resumes. I got it the second time around, and I came to know and respect more people, fellow commissioners, people that serve not because they get paid, but because they want to serve their community. They want to see those important elements of Monrovia, see iconic symbols of Monrovia preserved.
Yeah.
So it wasn't one individual, it was a group of individuals, and seeing other people serve the community that really inspired me. They gave me that vision. This is what I want to do.
I love it. So it was really more community service, people like that, rather than politicians.
Yes.
If you would.
I would describe it as servant leadership. Leadership isn't getting in front of a parade and leading it. Leadership is being a servant and working for others. And I think that Monrovia offers so many opportunities to do just that.
Yeah, for sure. Talk to us about the people behind the curtains, folks that endorse you, or a campaign manager.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, the people that have endorsed me, I've been endorsed by the entire Monrovia City Council. I was appointed to the Monrovia City Council. It was a year and a half ago when I was first appointed. And I think that I've proven myself through my hard work, my commitment, that I earned that appointment. So it's Becky Shevlin, Larry Spicer, and Dr. Tamala Kelly, and the school board members as well, Rob Hammond, and he endorsed me, as well as Maritza Travanti endorsed me, and Jennifer Anderson endorsed me, and of course also one of the persons that I really, really admire on the city council that endorsed me, inspired me, shared some of the same interest, is our city council member Gloria Crutchington. She has that same passion for preserving Monrovia's history. She served on the Monrovia Historical Preservation Commission, also on the MOPEG board, which I also serve on. MOPEG is the Monrovia Historical Preservation Group. It's the what I would call the non-governmental preservation group for Monrovia's vintage historical homes. She also is the person on the city council, Gloria, who has an interest in water. When I say water, it's about how can we not just conserve water, but dealing with the issue of water, the water quality that we have here in Monrovia. So it's those council members, the school board member, and also Dr. Tony Fellows, who's the director that represents Monrovia on the water board. He also endorsed me as well. I've also been endorsed by some state legislators. Chris Holden's endorsed me. Blanca and Susan Rubio have endorsed me. I know them personally. They know my background and my experience, so I have widespread support within Monrovia.
Cool. Yeah, we definitely need the water because I use a lot of lotion constantly with the amount of hard water.
Well, hopefully today you're going to get a lot of it.
Yeah, right. Uncomfortable question, if you would, but who is your largest financial contributor on your campaign?
Myself. I think that it's hard putting your own money up to this, okay?
Sure.
But I think it's preferable than owing somebody a big favor, okay? Yeah. Most of my contributors are small. The biggest one besides myself is a friend of mine. Her name is Angie Garcia. She doesn't have a business in the city. She's known me since I was a teenager. She used to be my neighbor. She continues to live here in Monrovia, and our families are close. We know each other. Now, other than myself, that would be the biggest contributor. The others are smaller contributions, of like $250, $100. I got $400 from another person, but it's most of the contributions come from me. To me, I think it's better than, like I said, owing somebody a big favor.
For sure.
Yeah.
No, and I've seen you recuse yourself from decisions on the council, which I appreciate. I think that shows a lot of integrity.
Well, they weren't big contributions those people gave me.
Sure.
But if I saw that they had a project before the city, I had to recluse myself. Now, at the time when I was doing that, I was told by the city attorney, you can, even though they gave you a contribution, you can vote on it. But I didn't feel comfortable. Now it's different. They passed a new law, and now if you take a contribution from somebody over $250, you have to go back 1 year retroactive and see, well, did you accept a contribution of $250 or more 1 year retroactive? Or going forward, you're not going to be able to vote on something that they, that comes up that they have something before the city council. Okay. I think it's a good idea. We don't want to have special interests ruling our city. The idea is really, ideally, would be smaller contributions from just everyday folks.
Yeah, I love it. Who are you endorsing for mayor this year?
For mayor, there's two really well-qualified candidates. Becky and Larry, I work with them. I respect them both, and I'm neutral on the race, okay?
Okay.
Like I said, they're both very well-qualified. And I've seen them. I've seen them how hard they work, what passion. Monrovia is in good hands under their leadership.
Okay. Do you have a campaign slogan or theme that you're running on this year?
Yeah. The right direction for Monrovia. That's my campaign theme.
What had you come to that, like right direction?
Can I talk about some of the issues that
Please
define what right direction is? Okay. Well, let me tell you. The right direction for Monrovia is 6 or 7 issues. There's actually more than that, but I'm just going to talk about a couple of them. First of all is public safety. I think that we have to have public safety as a number one priority. If you don't feel safe in your home, then government has failed its most basic function. In November of, 2020, I live not far from here. I live on the other side of Mountain, on the other side of Braddock School. There was a shooting here at close to this location right here at Rec Park. And I believe it was a drive-by, okay? Well, that same night, someone shot at our house. The bullet went inside the wall on the second floor of our house, and it came to rest inside the house. I never had something like that happen, okay? It was a eye-opener experience, okay? I wasn't happy with the explanation, which was that a bullet was able to travel from this location, basically where we're at right now, all the way to my house and penetrate the wall and lie inside. And I had one a police officer explain to me that it was possible, and then a second one, okay? So after that experience, I saw that public safety, you got to feel safe in your own home. Mm-hmm. We never did find out who it was that did the shooting here at the park, and by extension, that was the same bullet probably that went to my house. So public safety was the number one thing. Number two issue that we're looking at is housing. I have relatives, both older and younger. We've come all to love Monrovia, and it's sad when, I'm sure you've heard this, gee, I wish I could afford to live in Monrovia. It's become such a beautiful place that no one can afford to live here anymore. Yeah. So what I'm looking at, what I'd like to do is to have something called inclusionary zoning, and we're going to be looking at it. It's not a pipe dream. This year, the City Council, we're going to be looking at this issue. Inclusionary zoning is basically this, that new construction, I guess underlining the word new, when they're coming in here to put a new apartments in, we're going to require, hopefully, that a certain percentage be set aside for low-income people. The percentage will depend, it'll be on a sliding scale on how many units they're building. Okay? This so that our senior citizens, our parents, our grandparents don't have to move out of town, or young people, they don't have to move out of town. Okay? So, again, give it a priority to people who have lived here in Monrovia.
Yeah.
So that housing issue, and that's something that's not going to be long distance. It's going to be happening within the year that we're going to be looking at that issue. So housing, very important thing. Mental health. I think it probably took this COVID crisis to really focus on the mental health crisis that we're having. One thing that we're going to be doing, and it's happening what's going to happen on Monday, February 5th, Monrovia is going to institute the San Gabriel Valley Cares program, where we're going to be sending out in cases where there's a 911 call, okay, an emergency call, where we determine that someone what they really need is a mental health professional to go talk to them. We're going to send them instead of a police officer who might not be trained in that. We've already had tragedy where someone took their life even in front of a police officer because the person, what they really needed was to talk to somebody who could help them in that field. So that's going to be happening. This program's starting Monday, February 5th. Today's the 1st? Monday's the 5th, right?
Yep.
It's starting on Monday. I voted for that. I was in favor of that. But with mental health, we shouldn't let it become an emergency, okay? Yeah. We're going to have also a team, a mental health team, so when people can call a number and they can get, basically it's a clearinghouse of information on mental health resources where you can get, depending on what your needs are, where you can get help. So we're not going to wait till somebody calls and says, I want to take my life. I'm desperate. We shouldn't have to get to that place, Chris.
Sure.
So we're taking care, we're looking at the emergency situations and taking care so we don't get to the emergency situations, okay? Historic identity of Monrovia, another issue that I care about in this what I call the right direction for Monrovia. We took in Monrovia a huge loss with the loss of Steve Baker, our historian. Not only because we lost a great person, a city treasurer, but he was really the person that knew every detail. And I don't know if we got every detail of his knowledge down, but we tried to. Okay, so the Legacy Project, his resources that he had, the photos and everything else. I've been a historical preservation commissioner for 9 years before I got on the council, and I was chair of the committee. So that my duty there was about preservation of the buildings. Okay, there's something that's coming up real soon, and it's a crossover. I'll tell you what's a crossover. You're very familiar with Route 66?
Yes.
Okay. Hopefully everybody listening to me familiar with Route 66. Route 66 is basically the mother road connecting California, Monrovia, all the way to Chicago, okay? And the beauty is that here in Monrovia, we have several routes to Route 66. It's not just on Huntington Drive. It's also up Shamrock and traveling west on Foothill. And the reason Monrovia is blessed with that is because the original Route 66 traveled from over here, from the east, out here west, and then took a sharp right turn on Shamrock, and then proceeded west on Foothill. Later, they determined it wasn't wide enough, so they rerouted it all on Huntington Drive. Well, the Centennial is coming up, okay? And it's a big thing, okay? Monrovia has the opportunity to use its historical status with beautiful historical buildings like the Aztec Hotel, the newly restored the Fred's Automotive Event Center that we have on Shamrock. We have a beautiful vintage gas station also on Shamrock that they're restoring. We have this opportunity to bring, I think, businesses, more business to the existing hotels that we have, the restaurants that we have, because there's going to be tourism traveling literally on Route 66 from the Midwest all the way out to this coast. Employment for local youths and all these businesses. So it's a win-win situation. So that's one of the right direction for Monrovia. I want to be able to celebrate, and I'm championing the Route 66 because it'll bring more business for our local restaurants, our hotels, employment for our youth, and highlights one of Monrovia's strengths, which is its historic identity. And I have other interests. For example, I briefly spoke about Gloria Crutchington being a leader in Monrovia on water. She's literally, not only did Gloria save our foothills, which I don't know if you're familiar with that, where she started the petition and we wound up eventually voting to buy our foothills. She's also, in terms of water for the city of Monrovia and what's required, she's also saved a lot of money on that. I took it upon myself to join, I was actually picked, Water Fellowship, which was basically a 6-month training for elected officials so they can become more familiar with the water industry. Chris, it's like learning a whole new language.
Yeah.
It's not easy, okay? And my respect to Gloria that she learned this whole new industry by herself, and now she's retiring. So I'm trying to learn from the master.
I get it.
Well, I'm going to be having a water workshop at the end of summer, beginning of September, here at the Upper San Gabriel Valley Municipal Water District. I've met with Tony Fellows about it, and it'll be local water officials. It'll be Monrovia centric, so to talk about the issue of water. We can't just go by. Well, we got all this rain now. Everything's going to be cool. For how long? We can't do that. Okay, we have to plan. Okay, Monrovia is in a unique situation. Our soil here, because we're in the foothills, okay, along with other foothill communities, it percolates down deep quicker than in other soil types south of us.
Right.
So it goes straight to the aquifers, okay? And that's fine when it's like right now when it's raining, but when it gets dry, well, if we don't have any rainwater or anything, we don't have anything, what are we going to do? So I'm going to be doing that on as well on water. I have also concerns, the right direction for Monrovia. I'm really concerned about what's happening with the, I call the New Yorkization or Manhattanization of Monrovia, with all this huge monoliths that are being built. What's happened is that, unfortunately, the state of California has taken local government's authority away to say no to some of these big construction projects, okay? I think, again, we can use that strong point of Monrovia of historical identity, relevancy, to fight some of the state incursion into our ability to make our own housing decisions here in Monrovia. And this is how I propose that we do it. There is, in Monrovia, there's only 2 historic districts. And we have like 160 some historic houses, but we have a housing stock potentially of 2,500 homes. Now, There is, in Pasadena, there's 10 historic districts and potentially 30. Now, when you declare a historic district, the state of California is not going to be able to, even if they get, which they probably will. I don't want to scare anybody listening to me, but I don't trust the state of California. I think it's going to get worse. They're going to try to take away Monrovia and other local governments' authority to say no to those massive housing projects. So what I propose is that we look at our historic context statement, of which I was on the historic context statement committee, and look at, there's recommendations for potentially other historic districts in Monrovia that we can look into. The only thing is, it can't come from government. It's the neighbors individually that have to make that decision. Monrovia cannot say, "Oh yeah, let's all we're going to declare the whole city." Which somebody actually came up with the idea. They said, "Okay, let's stop the state of California from telling the developers, you guys can do what you want. Let's declare the whole city a historic district." The courts will see right through that, and the whole city isn't historic. Okay,
Sure.
Now don't sell yourself short in that historic context statement. There's one neighborhood that doesn't look like your traditional historic district. Are you familiar with the? It's probably before your time, Chris, but the Brady Bunch, the TV series.
I do remember.
Okay, those that are old enough to remember, it was the Brady Bunch house at the beginning of the TV series was a California ranch style house. It was built 60s or 70s. Didn't look like anything that would go in a historic district, but actually, you don't have to have a 100-year-old house or neighborhood or houses to qualify. I know on Wild Rose Avenue, there's a house that was built in the 60s that's a historic house. But the historic context statement, which you can find on the City of Monrovia's website, you will see that they even recommend one neighborhood, and it's houses that look like, houses that were built in the 60s or 70s. So I think that we need to look at outside the box thinking to preserve Monrovia's sovereignty to be able to say no to some of these big projects, because I think that the state of California is going to try to take away more and more of our authority to determine our future. I'm for local control. I'm for Monrovians determining their future, not other people up in Sacramento or the feds or even LA County telling us what we should do. So those are just some of the steps on the right direction for Monrovia.
I agree. All right, cool. We are less than 10 minutes to go. You touched on affordable housing. Measure K, we talked about this last election. I know the funds are still there. How would you like to see some of those funds be allocated?
I think that we need to, we've got input from the citizens. think we need to respect how the citizens want to have their money spent.
Yeah.
Okay? Look to see what people said, because they've already written down what they said.
A couple years ago.
Yeah, and so we need to go with that.
Cool. If you could develop Station Square area, how would you like to see that done?
Okay. Right now, there's these buildings they're a little too big for my taste, but I know that the state of California wants to have these transit villages where the train stops. We need to have something that's going to draw people other than just residential. Yeah. Because if you go there in the middle of the day, it's dead, Chris. It's really dead. There's nothing happening. Everybody goes to work, and it's like, it looks like something out of an apocalyptic movie. Yep. Where are the people?
Yep.
I think something neat that's retail that brings people in, whether it be a restaurant, should be built there. You know why? That Station Square? It was envisioned as having potential to be a restaurant, but we haven't been able to get a restaurant.
Right.
And I think that's for that same reason, because restaurants come in and they say, well, everything looks nice and new here, facilities and everything, and a restored, beautiful, historic Santa Fe Depot, but there isn't anything else. So we need to have something that'll draw people there. And I think just putting in more residential won't do it. It has to be probably restaurants, because with Amazon and the new economy, the thing that stands out for Monrovia, what keeps, for example, Monrovia's Old Town, what keeps it thriving are the restaurants. Yep. And Monrovia is what I call a delicious city because of all the delicious restaurants it has.
Got a lot of chicken happening over here for sure. Do you think city council and the school district could work better together? And what do you think that looks like?
Okay, definitely. This is there's been an improvement. Okay, I'm just gonna go out and say, when we've had some turmoil. Okay, both within the school district. We have a new superintendent.
What Well, we're looking for.
Yeah, when I met with the with the old superintendent, okay, well, an interim superintendent.
Correct.
When I met with the old superintendent, I did meet with him, and he was a big basketball fan, just like you and I, and we talked about the golden age of the Lakers and everything else. It was very nice, but I got right into him and I told him, I said, correct me if I'm wrong, but I have a feeling that we have like an adversarial relationship between the city and the school district. And he was very surprised. He said, I thought we were going to have a superficial conversation, and he laughed. And I said, well, I know you're a busy man, and since I haven't been on the council too long, this is my impression. Correct me if I'm wrong. So this is what he told me, that he felt that the cause was that the city was, quote, not staying within its own lane, that we were doing things that the school district traditionally does, and that we should stay in our own lane. And we also told him some of the concerns that the city had, respect to the city manager and some other issues on it. But I told him, I'm one person on the council, but I will do my best to participate. If we participate in each other's activities and get along by at least being present in those activities, I think we can improve the relationship. So I think, yes, it hit a rock bottom at one point. It's coming back up. And we've made efforts. I've continued to go to events. I've been to the swearing-in ceremonies. I've been to open houses that they've had at Monrovia High School. I've been in the emergency at Braddock School yesterday when they had a fire.
Yep.
And it's no coincidence that I had 3 of the 5 school board members endorse my candidacy as well. So we made something that some people might say it's superficial, but it's symbolic. We had the joint meeting, which you were at, right here at the Saute Academy, where we got together and we prepared a meal together as a team. And it was a really good experience because some of us, we knew each other on a visual basis, on a name basis, but we never had any interaction. So we had staff members from the school district, from the city, council members, school board members, and we interacted. This is how I see Monrovia's future, and it involves 3 things. The futures are our kids. Okay, you have a 12-year-old, and I have she's 23, but she's always going to be my little girl. I think that the future, the partnership, is going to be the parents who give the kids the values, the school district who educates them, and the city of Monrovia with its after-school programs, the Teen Advisory Board of the Public Library, the Youth Commission, the YES internship program, the paid internship program, as well as the junior MAP. With those 3, with the programs that the city is offering, with the education that's being offered by our school district, and most important, like I said, the parents, because they teach the kids the values. They're the first and best teacher that our kids can depend on. So we can't separate these things. We have to if we're going to have a future together and equip our kids to the future, it has to be a partnership together. So I think that you've seen it. We have the beginning of the partnership where we won't be estranged. We're going to be partners in the present and to the future.
I'd like to see it.
Okay.
I think knowing each other is good. I'd like to see better collaboration, indeed. Is there anything, as we're looking at closing things out, anything that you wanted to speak to that we didn't touch on?
Yeah, I would like to ask those listening to me on TV, seeing me on TV, go to my website, see what I have to say. There's a lot more that hasn't been said here today. I've worked really hard. I've worked with a lot of passion, like we say in Spanish, with a lot of ganas, with a lot of desire. I hope that the voters are going to say, you've done a great job, just keep right on doing it. When they vote March 5th, please remember to vote for Sergio Jimenez for Monrovia City Council. Consider my qualifications. You'll be getting my mailer soon in the mail, and I'm grateful for this opportunity to answer your questions, to be here, and to talk a little bit about what the right direction for Monrovia is. Thank you, Chris.
Thank you again to all our candidates for joining us. Conversations with the Candidates 2024. My name is Chris Loos. It's been an honor doing this. Each candidate was reached out to and given the same amount of time to speak freely and let you know why you should vote for them on March 5th.